Hi, I'm Josh Mueller, and here's how to use a chopping knife. First thing is, what size do you like, right? Usually chopping knives come in multiple different sizes. For in the home, most chopping knives are gonna come in small, medium, or large. So I personally prefer a medium chopping knife. You'll see a few different sizes here. This is a traditional chef knife, which is more of a European style that's made for rocking and chopping. I prefer the Santoku style, which is more of an Asian style, which you'll see we have a small and a medium size here. These are great because you can rock and chop, you can do what's called a slap chop, you can also do what's called a razor cut with them. So I'll show you how to do all three. Let's start with something like what you would use in a stew, for example. I'm going to show you how to cut our peeled carrot that we have here, as well as celery. So with celery, what's great is if you want to cut it into a julienne, you can just take and use the tip of the knife and cut it like that into 2 or 3 sections depending on how big the celery is, and then you would just cut it off, and then you have some nice thin celery sticks. The other thing you can do is if you're dicing them for, say, chicken salad or some form of a stew, is you can cut those slices like that, and then you turn around and you actually rock and chop. Or you can do what's called a razor slice, where you cut with a tip like this. But let's talk about how to rock and chop properly. Most people, you see the cooks on TV doing this right here like this. They're chopping everything up, doing it really quick, and you're thinking to yourself, gosh, I would cut myself if I did that. But it's actually much easier than it looks. It's also considered the safest knife to use in this set because it saves you a lot of time being able to cut 2 or 3 things all at once. Also, it's easier to use because the weight of the blade does the work for you when you use it properly. So with a chopping knife, the common mistake a lot of people make is they put their food way up here at the front. And that makes it very uncomfortable to use because when the knife's on its tip like that, it's hard to control. Plus, you're not really using any of the weight of the blade to leverage down through what you're cutting. So instead of putting your food at the front, position your food at the back of the knife, back here. You always want to start from the back and move forward the more food that you have. So if you had 3 or 4 carrots, for example, you would start with your first one back here and then position them up like this. But if you only have 2 carrots, keep them towards the back. And then it's just like using a paper cutter. And remember, on a paper cutter, it's bolted down in the front. You grab the handle, you lift the handle, you push your paper underneath, and you cut your paper. It's that simple. You just lift it up and cut down through your food. And when you're using the back of the blade, there you're using the weight. Also, you don't have to lift it up as high, so it's much more comfortable and it's much easier to use. And then I like a chopping knife too because when you're all done cutting, you can just scoop everything up and throw it in the pan. So let's try a carrot. Nice and easy cutting through the carrot. Of course, a good sharp knife makes a lot of difference as well, so make sure that you have a good sharp knife in the kitchen. So this is a traditional chef knife, European style, which means that because it's not as square at the tip, it's really just made to use with the back of the knife. Whereas with the Santoku, you'll notice I used the tip and I used the rock and chop part. So with a chef knife, you could use this for just any chopping that you're going to do. On a zucchini, for example, you would just cut down through it like this. And then what I love about this chef knife is that you save so much time because now you can take both halves of your zucchini and you can just rock through nice and easy. And it's so much easier to cut when you're doing it this way compared to using a paring knife to do it all in the air, which wastes a ton of time and actually isn't even as comfortable as using a chef knife. Now let's cut a potato. So of course you'll peel your potatoes first in most cases, or scrub them at least before you cook them, if you're going to keep the skins on. So first thing that you want to do with the potato is just cut a side off of the potato. What that does for you is it makes it so that you can set your potato flat on that side right there on the cutting board, and now it won't roll around on you. So imagine we're going to cut this up for a stew. So I'll cut it in half, maybe even in thirds, depending on how thick and how big the potato is. And then you can just go back through and you just rock and chop. It's just like using any other chopping knife.